we're stepping into the golden world of Veuve Clicquot's Emotions of the Sun. That's why you aren't wearing your sunglasses. Come on.
I forgot. I broke character.
Get in character.
Okay. Let's do it.
So, this is a global exhibition that's been created with the legendary Magnum Photos agency and Veuve Clicquot, and it's now shining brightly in Cape Town throughout December. Alongside the 40 extraordinary images on display at Youngblood Gallery in Bree Street is the Sun on Your Plate Café. That's you, isn't it?
Well, I play a small role.
You play a small role. Okay. And because Seth Shezi, my guest today, has played a small role. I don't think it's that small. You're too humble by half.
I'm from Durban. I'm supposed to be humble.
Yeah, exactly. If you're from Cape Town originally,
I'd be like, I ran this whole gap.
I
this
did
is
the
all
whole
me.
thing. I designed everything. I even took the photos.
I own the color yellow.
So we're wearing the sunglasses because it's so bright in here. And Seth, okay, you're a storyteller, a traveler, a style leader, and you won Celebrity MasterChef last year. Whoa.
I did, yeah.
That's quite a thing.
Thank you.
But then you've always cooked, haven't you? You've always been
I've
into
always
food.
cooked. Yeah. Since I was a kid, I've always just cooked. I'm the eldest of 5 kids, so there was a lot of like babysitting, and my parents would leave us alone, and I had to just faff around and figure out what to make for everyone. And it wasn't always great and as celebrated and MasterChef-y as it is today. My siblings will tell you lots of stories that they like retell for free every Christmas about like how I made them full for 2 days once. I think I served something that was unproofed, and so it was proofing in their tummies. So
Oh no!
But hey, we all have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere, and then you end up like winning Celebrity MasterChef.
You see, exactly.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So
There's a trajectory.
If you can like feed your 4 siblings, so that they complain bitterly for years afterwards, there's a chance you could win Celebrity MasterChef.
Yeah. If not, it's character building somewhere.
There we go, somewhere along the line. So for this project, you created a menu that is inspired by the sun, right?
Yes,
and it's paired with Veuve Clicquot's cuvées and deeply connected to this creative energy thing about Cape Town, right?
Of course, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, welcome to A Table in the Corner.
Thank you. Finally, I'm so excited to be here at last. Like, I've heard so many great things. I know so many like people that I respect who've been honored to be on the pod. So I'm really happy.
That's nice of you to say. Thank you very much. And of course, you know my niece.
Of course,
Holly Ray,
I absolutely
right?
adore her. We were together on Celebrity MasterChef. Yeah.
That's right, because she was a contestant.
Yeah,
you snatched victory from her.
Well, no, I mean, she also won her, what do you call it, tranche. She won that episode, and then we got together at the semifinals. And it was.
There we go.
No, she's incredible.
She's a baker, not a cook. But
true.
They had to shoehorn
but also
some celebrities
she has
in there.
really high standards. I mean, what people don't understand is that like what they see on TV is actually so real. Even for me, it took me by surprise at how real it is.
Right.
And so you could know how to do things at home when you can like do it again, or there's no time pressure. But suddenly someone tells you do this in half an hour. Even the thing you can know, you know how to do very well, is suddenly.
Could you have put dinner on the table for those 4 siblings in half an hour? Maybe not.
If it's half baked, sure.
Okay, let's get into this thing because we have to honor the sponsor of the show.
Of course.
So how did this partnership with Veuve Clicquot and the Magnum Photos collection
come about?
How did that happen?
So, I mean, initially I've worked with Veuve Clicquot for quite a while. So we've had like a relationship like over the years, since the days when they used to do the polo in the winelands. So I've kind of like always been part of that because I just, obviously I love the bubbly. I spent a lot of time in France, so naturally it fits in with my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And also just the color, I've always like, for me, like loved being able to dress to a theme that is so exciting. And so when the event was happening every year, I was one of the first people to always just sign on to go onto it every year.
And to put on the yellow gear.
Of course, yeah. In fact, last night when we had the launch, I had to make sure that I didn't wear my yellow suit because I feel like everyone who works at Veuve has seen my infamous yellow suit, which I did make custom to attend one of the events.
Did you?
Yeah. Which is, it's the perfect shade of like the perfect Pantone. Anyway, and then, so when they approached me about this, and one thing that struck me is the fact that obviously I love photography so much. And this was like a traveling exhibition, and I always joke about the fact that like I use airports as like second homes. And so I was like, cool, a traveling exhibition for someone like me, this is perfect synergy. I'll say yes.
Because that's the thing. This exhibition, it was in Milan.
Yeah.
It's been in New York,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What a thing
To bring to
Cape Town. I mean,
see, the thing is, we live here, so we think it's a no-brainer. Of course, you want to bring it here, but I mean, internationally, there's so many other cities that are vying to have it. So I'm so glad that it ended up here.
I think this is where we're going to be, like, slightly disagree because Cape Town keeps on being listed among the most livable cities in the world. So it's kind of, for me, a shoe-in. But I hear what you say, because we're constantly surrounded by this beauty. We constantly live in this bright light, right? And so it's like people overseas, like, I'm going to go to Africa and see a rhino and a lion. And we're like,
good luck.
Good luck, have fun.
Show us when you find it.
But I mean, there's something about you and that international lifestyle, and I was teasing you before we started recording about your time in Venice, right? On all those motor launches, sitting in the back, the wind in your hair, all that stuff. You live a very it appears that you live a very luxury-filled life. You eat in the finest restaurants, you stay in the most beautiful hotels. So it seems an obvious fit with Veuve Clicquot, right? So apart from the fact that you like yellow, there's a good fit.
No, naturally there's definitely a fit, and the theme of the exhibition itself like lended to me to like say, cool, I definitely want to be a part of this, because like I was always thinking about the fact that it's emotions of the sun. Like there's a lot that you can do with that, because to me the sun just doesn't mean yellow and bright and stuff like that, even though it is, but it also means like joy, optimism, and like a sense of like possibilities, and like the warmth and the hug and the nourishment that you can find from food. It's like, it's a lot of things that sort of like interplay on that.
I mean, look, also a cursory glance at your Instagram, right? The Seth Shezi Instagram, which I've been following for ages.
Me.
But well, it might haunt you, but it's full of things of you in the sun on the beach, in your short brook. And
when you do this, I'm just like, oh, am I that ridiculous?
So it's a good fit, and bringing it here seems obvious. And so how do? Because I want to get into the menu,
of course,
for the sun on your plate, right? How has the city's light and its culture and its obvious creative energy played into what you've created for people to enjoy here?
I mean, one of the things that for me, as a brief, if you like being tasked to do something, is do you have like a low-hanging thread that you can pick up from? And for me, one of those was like a sense of like optimism and effervescence, like South Africa and Cape Town has that in oodles. And then the color aspect of it, I mean, come on, South Africa is a very like colorful and multicultural society.
The Rainbow Nation.
No, exactly, So at its best, we are the Rainbow Nation. So I think like something like that was just the easy one to say, cool, let's try and create a menu that brings sort of, or plates that level of like what the sun stands for, that optimism, that joy. And I don't know if you can ask for anything more than like having a joyful plate of food, because ultimately I think for me like food is like such an important form of like love and a sense of like gathering. And
I mean, just as the sun is joy, the sun is life, food is joy, and food is life for me. You know, I mean, I'm not exactly a beachgoer, not like you.
No.
I don't sit on the back transom of the speedboat in Venice.
Trust me, I feel like we could all do that. With these shades, I think you're ready.
We probably could.
Because it's not like I'm wandering around in speedos either. Like, like swimming. I don't like to swim that much because I find the water too cold. I'm from Durban. Unless it's like tea temperature, I just won't get into it.
Well, exactly. I mean, my little girl surfs and she goes into this water and I'm like, oh.
Could never be me.
I grew up in Durban. No, I can't.
Could never be me.
Can't do it. On that, so how did, well, not actually on that. Let's change that view, because a lot of, that's what I was thinking about, is the vision of me in a Speedo. It's not a great one. So let's rather think about the Magnum photography that is being featured in this exhibition. How did those? Do you know
that actually one of the photographers that are curated is South African?
What?
Yeah. So there's a guy called Lindo Guhle who's one of the photographers, and that for me was also one of the things that was like super exciting to know that like we're bringing it here, and amongst the curated, one of our own is there, because I just feel like if we're going to be talking about joy and optimism, we should also be inspiring. And I think it's so inspiring to be able to like say, we've brought the exhibition here. If you're an aspiring creative or photographer, you know, even it could happen for you too, you know, like it is possible. And I think having those like international platforms sort of like, you know, celebrate people from South Africa, it's such a small mind shift, but it actually is very effective for like the young person who needs the inspiration.
It's very interesting. I mean, just thinking about the world beyond Cape Town.
Yeah.
You know, if we see Cape Town as a kind of one of the creative hubs of the country.
Definitely, yeah.
It's in the same sentence as Milan and New York with this exhibition, right?
Easily.
And also, not only that, there's a local South African photographer featured among.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. In fact, I must go and do another walk around and find his work and have a look. But how did their interpretations of the sun photographically inspire the menu?
It inspired me to not be as literal. So like, trust me, I love a literal sort of theme because I'm a visual person. So like I already went in thinking, cool, we need to like lashings of yellow, orange, gold and everything, which is the more sort of like literal, accessible way of interpreting it. But what I thought was quite interesting for me, at least, when I was like going through the work, was realizing how they'd actually imbued more of the emotions of what you feel, what the sun represents. Okay. And I think that probably makes it like the challenge a little bit harder, because then you have to think about, cool, what is a kind of food that is probably more nourishing so that it makes you feel like the warmth of the sun rather than it just looking yellow.
Okay.
And so it kind of added like an extra sort of layer to it, and I felt like, okay, cool, if this is going to be a nice challenge for me, it also makes the job not feel like, okay, cool, you can just phone this one in. I was like deeply invested in it and making sure that whatever I created as a menu, yes, would be accessible so that everyone can enjoy it and not feel too excluded with like things that are too fussy, but at the same time, it honors the kind of creativity that they've created.
Yeah. I mean, surely there must have been some brief from Veuve Clicquot to say to you, we'd like you to be able to pair some of our cuvées with the dishes. So, I mean, we get to the stage in the structure of my interviews where I ask you to kind of to name or describe one or two of the dishes and what you paired them with and how that comes together.
Cool. I mean, I think at the key of it was making sure that most of them could actually pair with almost anything, really.
Okay.
One of the things I've always loved about Veuve, especially the cuvée, is the fact that like it's one of those champagnes where it sits at the intersection of being able to be drinkable by itself, because it's accessible, it's like biscuity, but also at the same time it stands out to like very strong and bold, maybe slightly acidic flavors when it comes to food. And I just think there's not a lot of, if you're doing like a wine pairing, there's not a lot of like champagnes that you can find that sort of sit in a very comfortable intersection. So my job was made easy in that sense, because like it is actually a very like food friendly champagne.
Right. So that was easy enough. Describe one.
And also, I mean, you have to be familiar with the product. And like, I've been consuming like, you know, Veuve Clicquot for way too long. Like for me, it's just like, oh yeah, cool. I know the notes like, you know, at the back of my head.
Sitting there, so when you're sitting there on the windswept and interesting on the balcony of your private suite in a fantastic hotel somewhere in Europe.
You're gonna make me sound like I have this la-di-da life.
But you know what? It is a la-di-da life. It's a fantastic life.
I'm very blessed. You know, I'm very lucky.
You've moved from Durban into this glittering life. It's a little bit like, and the Veuve just flows, does it?
No, true. I mean, I literally, I wish it was any different to that, but it is like that. But it does feel a bit weird even for me to think, oh, this is the life I get to live. So I feel very lucky. And I also think that I'm probably more of like a student in that world, because I'm just there to soak it up, and I happen to understand how it makes sense into the world, and then I get to share it with the rest of the world. And so I think that's the key thing. So I don't see it like as just for me.
Okay, so that's the point, isn't it? Is that what you do, I hate to say the word as an influencer, but what you do for a living is to create pathways that people can see for them to access a sort of a fuller, more international, more luxury life. And it's not necessarily only luxury, staying in the finest hotels or whatever the case may be, but it's just that you can look beyond the horizon of your own city, of your own province, and you can imagine and you can achieve an international life, right?
Yeah.
And
no, completely.
only if you drink Veuve Clicquot.
Of course. So anyway, you're going to get yourself closer to the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Joking, I'm joking.
No, but totally. So let's just talk about that, and that experience. What, if you were to describe one or two of the dishes you've created, and how you want guests coming in to see the exhibition and to explore the sun on your plate, what can they expect?
I mean, one of the dishes that I was most pleased when everyone else got to taste, because you can, as someone who's curating a menu and who's used to eating like some of the finest food around the world and like, working with Michelin chefs and stuff, you can get in your head a lot and you can create like a gap where, like the average consumer who just wants to eat something delicious and then watch the exhibition can feel disconnected. And I loved getting to sort of like get the feedback from people. And so one of the dishes that everyone seemed to love was like this ghost cheese balls. And they're like lightly deep fried. They come on like a beet cracker, which is like we use specifically yellow beets because the sun. And it sits on top of that, and then with like some wild rosemary honey on top of it. It's quite special.
Sounds delicious.
And something like that works really well. And then again, like Veuve Clicquot sort of like can pair with that because you think, oh, the honey might get too much, but no, it was beautiful.
Exactly. So, and the sharpness of the goat's cheese maybe is okay.
Yeah. And so I think when having those kind of flavors work, and then have everyone else who's not necessarily, you don't have to be a foodie to enjoy it. And those are the people's opinions I cared about the most. And when they liked it, I was like, great,
yes,
cool, we did it. And then one of the other ones that seems to be a crowd pleaser is like a simple confit duck a l'orange. And
hello?
Again, like it's like a two-pronged because on the one side, it's like looking back at like the French flair of cooking because Veuve is French, but like obviously using like hyper-local produce because we're not flying the ducks all the way from France. They're from here. They're reared differently, so you get that South African flavor. And then having the orange as a base sauce, intensely orange, which is the sun on your plate.
Look at you, drawing it all together in a fantastic way. Just who did you work with on the project? Because I know that wonderful comms company and Megan from Avenue put us together, put us together for this chat.
Of course.
Who else were you working with on the show?
So I obviously worked with Avenue with the team at Veuve as well as Youngblood because this is where the exhibition is staged.
That's
this
right.
beautiful
in this
space.
beautiful
and
this bright space.
This beautiful bright space, vivid. And so because they were going to interpret obviously the menu and actually make it going forward for the cafe for until the 21st.
Is it the 21st of December when they break down?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the thing. You've got until the 21st of December to come to Bree Street. It's number 70 Bree Street, Youngblood Gallery, to see the show.
Yeah, see the show, have some Veuve Clicquot bubbly and taste the food.
Yeah. So listen, let's park all of that for a moment and ask you, you live this international life, you travel a lot, but you are back and forth here. And I know that you love Cape Town.
Of course. I mean, I've lived in Cape Town more of my life than anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
Like, I was born in Durban, but I moved to Cape Town when I was 16. And I've lived in Cape Town all of my life since. Yeah. I came to study at UCT and with the plan of leaving after 4 years to go to Joburg or somewhere else, not Durban, sadly, but like to go work in Joburg or wherever else everyone works when they do like a business degree. But then I ended up just staying because initially, it's just a very random story. Initially, I wanted to go on a gap year to London.
Yes.
And then my parents were like, oh, no, don't you want to study your degree first? And then we'll take you on a gap year when you finish.
And also, get a job.
Yeah, exactly. Stop freeloading. And then but then the rules and the regulations had changed by the time I finished my degree at UCT. You couldn't just like pack your bags and go to the UK anymore. You needed like a visa and the sponsor from your parents. And my sweet parents were prepared to do it, but I was like, I've just discovered Nirvana. Like I started spending time in the city center of Cape Town, not just Rondebosch. It's amazing. Forget London. Just like pay for me to stay here. And they're like, cool, fine, that's easy for us. So then I stayed and did my gap year, which only lasted like 3 months because I got headhunted for the job that I wanted to do. And I just like, cool. Then I started working. So I lived in Cape Town forever since then.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What kind of South African chefs or local creatives are inspiring you at the moment?
Sure, so many. I mean, I feel like the nice thing that I'm observing with South African chefs is that there's finally like a change towards self-belief where I think for a very long time the North Star, quote unquote, was always like looking at Europe to see what's happening there.
Yeah.
And now I think that there's this great sense of provenance where people are really not just like paying lip service to, oh, we are hyper local, blah, blah, but no, they're actually looking at like indigenous like ingredients, ancient grains are like becoming a thing. And so all of that stuff is like the conversation that I feel was missing. And, you know, it's people like Areda, who's the producer for
yes, Areda,
Areda, yeah. And she's like, I mean, that for her, I remember her book where she was talking about this and some of the things, and I was already like a food writer and like a critic at the time, and she was talking about some ingredients, but I was like, oh, I don't know, I didn't even know these were real ingredients that people could use commercially. I know them from my grandmother. She planted them like in her field and ate them, you know, domestically, but like I didn't know it was a thing you can buy.
Like the millets and the sorghums.
All of that,
all of that stuff.
Yeah. So now the fact that that's hitting mainstream, I think like makes me so happy because, you know, for me, when I'm in Europe, I do like to eat European food. Yeah. But when I'm here, why am I then still getting another interpretation of like French food? Yeah.
I've seen that change has been happening for the last couple of years. And you know, there are the Baptiste Bessons who's interpreting his own Afrikaner heritage through his food. Yeah. But that's only one part of the equation. He's been doing that for a while, but that's only one side of the equation. We've got, you know, just round the corner from the Youngblood Gallery is Vusi and Lorgu's restaurant.
Yeah. Have you been?
Twice now. In fact, the meal that I had there with my wife was probably the best meal I've eaten in Cape Town in 10 years.
Amazing.
Because
I hope you told him that.
I did.
Okay, good.
And I teased him about it as well. We have a little, and he was on the show. We were talking about it. But it's amazing. And he's not just interpreting, you know, local South African food and techniques. He's looking
spreading
at
the whole
continent,
Africa. The whole continent.
But more and more people are getting onto that thing. So if you go to Koi and you look at Tinola Govender and Tinola and Jeffrey, G&T they call themselves, the kitchen team there under Ryan Cole. Yes. They're using local, you know, ancient grains, and it's happening. The other day I was at Belly of the Beast.
Of course.
And that interpretation
I actually haven't been to Belly of the Beast in a long time.
It's so good. So good.
It gets so hard for me because like I'm obviously only here during the summer, and that's the time where it's busiest, and so like you try and hit like all of the places, and Cape Town, like the list is just growing every time I come back. It's like the list is longer and longer, so yeah, to try and fit everything in, I have to put Belly of the Beast top of mind again.
I don't know if you can notice from your perspective, and hopefully the viewers don't notice that I'm actually weeping behind these glasses because I can't get to all the restaurants that
it's a good problem to have. It means the industry is growing.
I know, I do this. I work in this industry and I just can't. And some of the chefs I've interviewed lately, like their opening line is, I say, welcome to the show. And they say, oh, you get to me at last. But
you can't get to them. Fast enough.
And in the previous season, I was going through, like I'd speak to someone, they say, oh, we get the cheese from this person, so I go off and talk to that cheese, and then they'd say, oh, but you know, the rennet comes from here. So I was following my own curiosity. Now it's like chefs and their restaurants. Okay, so I can get to more chefs. But even with the show,
but that's a pity though, because like I like to, I mean, it's a selfish thing because I know the chefs, so then I'm okay with that part. I want to know the artisans that they get to work with. So like I want to know the cheesemonger and all of those people behind it.
What? So that was the last season of the show. You can take that over. I'll keep on doing the chef because I just can't get to enough restaurants, but we'll get there.
Sure.
So where have you eaten?
Like recently?
Okay, since you've been here for the summer.
Since you've been here, so La Colombe. So that was the first meal I had when I got back, and that was great, fantastic. And then Salsify.
That's like, Ryan Cole again.
Yeah, Ryan Cole.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Again, fantastic. And then this weekend I was in Franschhoek. I went to La Petite Colombe for a friend's birthday. Sensational. Peter Duncan.
And that setting.
This is really, And I love the fact that the windows, like you don't even want to sit outside because being inside and having the windows frame the mountains, like it just adds an extra layer. And then where else am I supposed to be eating? And then I went to Amora at the Mount Nelson, the newly opened. Have you been?
I was invited to the opening and I couldn't make it.
You have to get there. You have to get there. You have to try and do it maybe this week
it's
before.
From
Angel Leon. From Aponiete. So you try to get there before he leaves. But I mean, Guillaume is going to be taking over, which is going to be great. And then what else? We have a good problem right now. It's like an embarrassment of like riches in terms of like how many are coming up, and I think there's really nothing wrong with that. Yeah. It's actually a good thing, because when you look at a place like a landscape like New York or London, you could literally spend 8 years without having going to the same restaurant twice.
Exactly.
And I feel like South Africa, at least Cape Town, is starting to get to that point.
It is starting to get to that point, because it's almost like in the first season, and why I changed the format of the show. In the first season, like every single person I was connected to, either I'd worked with them on a book, on a cookbook, or I'd, shot them for a magazine. So I knew all of these different chefs or characters. And there are people that I spoke to that, like for instance, Ben Bettendorf from Obi, which is my favorite little sushi place around the corner. On his first day in George Jardine's kitchen at Jordan Restaurant, he was in the kitchen when we were shooting George's book. So, I've known him since. So everybody I was connected to, or they'd say, hey, you need to talk to this person. And I got to a stage where those connections were starting to wear thin. So now I'm just going, phoning up the restaurants that I want to eat, or that I've been following, or that I'm interested in, saying to the chefs, let's have a conversation. And I don't know how I'm going to get through all of them. I think I'm going to have another 150 episode season.
But that's good. I mean, I honestly think that like this could be like what do you call it, a cyclical sort of thing, where as soon as you finish this season, you can go back to the first season and start talking to those people again. Because the menus are changing, people's ideals and ethos are changing. And we were just saying now, the fact that like people are now focusing more on like doing things the South African way is already a topic that is worth talking about. And
exactly. And there's this wave coming of the move away from the fine diner and the tasting menu into what they're calling the fast casual, where it's kind of elevated food and a lot of that sharing plate thing. So the sharing plate has been around, has been with us for a while.
Of course,
one of the best exponents of that is obviously Liam Tomlin, the Chef's Warehouse. But
love.
Fantastic.
Like
and he's opened a new one in Stellenbosch, and it's not called Maison, it's called Cantina. So he's just opened that in Stellenbosch. It's a month old.
Amazing.
But there's more.
There's also a restaurant that I'm dying to go to in Stellenbosch. I haven't been able to go to every time I come around.
Eat Karma?
No.
Mersha.
It's Mersha.
Mersha. So I'm talking to Chef Matt van den Berg.
Yes, exactly.
Next week
exactly.
at Mersha.
Yeah. Like I've like literally been wanting to go there for the longest time, but there's just never time. And so I've heard fantastic things. So I'm dying to go there.
He's one of those chefs who's like, oh, at last, So at last
Cheeky.
you get to me.
Yeah.
But it's true, because he is mentioned so often. When I speak to chefs and say, who's kind of racing your pulse at the moment, who's doing something interesting? Oh, it's Matt van den Berg. Just, I've got 4 shows a month. How do I get to everybody?
Of course.
And getting there. But Matt is finally on the calendar, and I'm going to talk to him, so that's coming up.
I mean, like, I think one of the things that for me now, that's like the next tier of doing these things is like introducing like a slightly more collaborative way of working. Like when you think of something like this, like Emotions of the Sun, you needed Magnum Photo to be involved, you needed Veuve to be involved, I guess you needed Seth Shezi to be involved, but you needed Avenue to be the vehicle that tells the story. So like and Youngblood to stage it. So you need all these components to come together, and then when you basically get to see it come together, it brings the experience overall into an international level. And I think it would be nice for the South African sort of like chef or restaurant landscape to become slightly more collaborative as well, because I think that's what I'm seeing in Europe that is helping a lot of restaurants be able to sort of like create another thing outside of themselves, where by the time you do like a 4 hands or like a 6 hands or an 8 hands or whatever it is, it becomes its own other entity, and you learn from each other through that way, but it also builds the community and the industry. And with South Africa being so far away and not yet, with Michelin and things like that, it kind of robs the chefs of like the recognition, and they're so international, they're so world-class in terms of their cooking, but we don't need to wait until Michelin, or to be listed on 50 Best to actually celebrate that. They could be banding up together, creating like these like experiences, because people are there and they're keen to do it. I mean, I get to create a few of those in London
Yeah.
and like work with a few South African chefs who come over there. But like when you see the appetite there, you know that it's something people would be ready for here as well.
Well, I mean, Luke Dale Roberts and Jason Cosmas from Potluck took Potluck to London, and it absolutely thumped. Apparently, you know, so we definitely have the ability to do it. And listen, there are people like Kobus van der Merwe, who from Veuve Clicquot, who's done those collaborations with the Belgian chef here. And, you know,
but you see, the thing is, I want them to be done with other South African chefs to create that entity, like within the industry. Because don't wait until you've been recognized by a 50 Best or a Michelin before you think, oh, cool, now I can start playing in the international space.
Exactly, but he, so he has done that. So he's done Vusi, Ndlovu,
and
Johannes from Summerhill. Right.
Yeah. It's like our like shining beacon from Durban.
The only shining beacon from Durban. I mustn't say that because Durbanites will come for me with a torch.
Exactly. I'm sure it's going to change. I feel like he's an example of what is possible.
Yeah.
Like we said in the beginning, like having one of the South Africans being put up part of this exhibition shows everyone else that it's possible. It can happen for you too. So maybe more Durban restaurants will basically follow in the Summerhill footsteps. Yeah.
I think this is the moment that we need to kind of close. So I'm going to say that if you would like to experience the motions of the sun for yourself, the exhibition runs from the 4th to the 21st of December at Youngblood Gallery on Bree at 70 Bree Street, right in the heart of Cape Town's creative district. So it's properly located in the heart of creativity here. Your ticket will include a glass of Veuve Clicquot yellow label and full access to the exhibition. And the Sun on Your Plate Café and Gifting Boutique are right there, right next door to the exhibition. So you can book at howler.co.za and go and soak up the sun with Seth Shezi. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this has been wonderful. Yeah.